guys? It's Kelly B.
And Mary G.
And we're here for Market Talk today. So basically today we're gonna have a quick little chat and cue you guys into kind of like what's happening on the market right as we stand, but we're getting the lender view and the real estate side. So kind of just a quick little snippet of what's currently happening and maybe some projections for the future coming from the, super knowledgeable Miss Mary G. So Mary, what's happening right now?
It's crazy out there, Kelly. I'll be honest with you. I think that there's so many more sellers out there than buyers. In fact, I read a stat this morning that said for every one buyer, there are 3 sellers waiting to sell their home. So that is really what we call a buyer's market.
So for a buyer's market, obviously, okay, all of us in the real estate world understand that means that or if you don't know, the buyer's market means that really a buyer looking to purchase a home right now is really in the driver's seat.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so what are some things that you recommend for these buyers, whether they're first-time home buyers, whether they're, seasoned buyers? Mm-hmm. What does that look like for them right now as far as the lending side?
So this is really funny because in 2020, 2021, everybody was like, oh, I wish I had bought then because the rates were so low. They're a lot lower than they are right now. However, you had a lot of competition as a buyer. There were a lot more buyers than there were sellers. So then you were looking at appraisal gaps and waiving inspection and escalation clauses too. Those are all tactics that buyers can use to be really competitive. But at this point, where there's not as much competition, the buyers can kind of come in and make a pretty fair offer, if not, maybe a good offer, a good for the buyer's offer. So they might come in a little low, they might ask for seller concessions. I know I'm kind of getting into your realm a little bit, but as far as the lending side goes, buyers are in a pretty good spot right now. They can usually get their down payment assistance programs approved easily by sellers, more so than they would have in 2020, because everybody wanted the real cash. When it's a buyer's market, you can get in easier with an FHA loan or a down payment assistance program, so don't be shy about using those.
Awesome. That's great advice, Mary. Thank you. I say, and from our side, obviously my job as a realtor is to represent a buyer, is to get you in the home of your dreams, but also make sure that it's in a price range that you guys feel comfortable with a home that's safe. When we have the inspections, making sure that everything is already completed so it's safe and ready for you to move in, and then you don't have to worry about anything. And so the nice thing about a buyer's market for us right now is that, like Mary was saying, it's a lot better for us because we don't have to feel shy about asking for concessions for money off of this. Oh, you need, the roof needs a new roof, or it needs repaired or whatever, like, hey, listen, can we take off $5,000 to get these fixes done, And also it really puts them in the driver's seat as well, because like Mary, you just said, 1 for 3, that's crazy, because, if a seller decides, no, I'm refuses to do anything for the inspection or, concessions or anything like that, then it's just as easy for a buyer to be like, okay, peace. I'll go move on to another one that's been sitting a while, and I'm sure I can get all these things done, because sellers need to sell.
Yep.
So,
very
that's
cool.
So
true. Yeah, definitely. And I think the interest rates probably should come down just a little bit by the end of the year. That's what we're really hoping for. Of course, there's a lot of geopolitical turmoil going on right now, so we're not really sure what's going to happen with rates. But generally, the economists are saying that we should see some relief with interest rates by later this year. So
awesome.
Fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, basically what Mary G and I are saying is, right now is not a time to wait. If you have, you always hear, when's the best time to buy? When you can. So, if you're able to buy right now, it's a real smart decision to jump in the market now.
Yep.
Find yourself a great lender like Mare. Find yourself, a person that's a realtor that's not afraid to fight for you and ask for what you need to get done. Because with this market shift, again, you're sitting pretty. So we want to make sure that we take care of our people.
Yep.
So, all right, you guys. Well, that's just a couple little things that we wanted to kind of cover this week. We're kind of hoping that we start doing this a little bit more often.
Yes.
With our little market talks. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great week and tune in next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.